Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books I read in November. I ended up reading 7 books in total and they were mostly 4 stars, so yeah, pretty good reading month all around. So first up I read Your House is on Fire, Your Children All Gone by Stefan Kiesbye, and this was the book that had been on my October TBR, but I ended up switching it out for something else that was more pressing, and but yeah, still really wanted to get to it, so this was the first book I read in November and I'm really glad I did. It's one that I've had on my shelf for some years and yeah, had been meaning to get to, so my bad for not doing so sooner. So this is quite an interesting one. It follows a group of characters who grew up together. They all lived in the same village, pretty isolated, and I'm not sure if it's actually specified where it is. I feel like it's somewhere in Europe, possibly Germany, but I don't remember now if that was explicitly stated. But so yeah, and it was I read it a month ago, so my memory on those details are a little hazy, admittedly. But this is, yeah, it follows the characters and details various things that happened to them and surrounding characters, you know, their family and other people in the area. And all of the things that happen are like awful, bleak, brutal, just bad things happening to people, or these characters doing terrible things to other people, and it's told from the different perspectives of these characters, so the chapters do kind of flit around from character to character and take place in different times also, so it is a little bit disjointed in that respect. I think it worked, but I did have a bit of difficulty at times remembering exactly who was who and how they all kind of fit together. But yeah, this felt a bit more like a series of short stories almost that just, you know, take place in the same world rather than a novel per se. It does have kind of a beginning and end that like tie it together, but I'm not sure I was like 100% satisfied by the end. I feel like it did feel a bit disjointed and I wanted like maybe just a little bit more from it. But it was definitely an interesting read. I really liked his writing style, like the tone and the atmosphere were amazing. And it is, yeah, it's brutal at times. It's basically about the horrible things that people are capable of doing. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, then I highly recommend it. I rated this one 4 stars, and yeah, I'm not actually sure what else this author has written, but I would be curious to read more of his work. Then I read Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt, and she is a British author. I believe this is her first novel, and yeah, this is very like new contemporary horror and one I would definitely recommend. Yeah, how to describe this one though? It is set in Brighton in the UK and is following a trans character, and there's an incident that happened with her and 2 of her friends sometime previously where they had gone to this abandoned house and some stuff happened there, and yeah, they are kind of dealing with the aftermath of the trauma that happened there, and so it's following them in their kind of separate lives and then how they come back together in order to try and deal with what happened. So we're kind of getting little bits of information as the story goes along, and the house is also a character, or you know, like a viewpoint throughout the novel as well, which I thought was really well done. Maybe not the first instance that has been done, but I thought it was very effective here. It tackles a lot of pretty heavy topics about being trans, and also just a lot of general kind of social and political themes as well, especially UK related. So yeah, I connected, you know, quite strongly with that. There's a lot of themes. There are themes such as racism and like transphobia that are tackled here. And I think like that idea that, you know, those things don't come from nowhere, you know, they kind of have that insidious nature that they can brew within people for a long time before maybe coming to the fore in a way. So yeah, I thought it handled that really, really well. It does have some creepy moments as well, you know, with that kind of side of horror, as well as these like, you know, real kind of elements, for want of a better word, maybe. But yeah, there are some creepy moments here. There are some very, very strong visuals in here. Yeah, there's some moments that are, yeah, very, very effective. I just thought this one was great. Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic debut novel, very original and very well done. Highly recommend it. This was another 4-star read for me. And yeah, again, looking forward to whatever the author does next, because yeah, this was an interesting one. Then I read The Mall by Richie Tankersley Cusick. This is one of the point horror books, and I read this as part of the From Hell book club, which is run by Kelly over at Kelly Hooked on Books. And yeah, this was a fun point horror read, you know, fairly standard, but you know, they're always a good time. Honestly, this wasn't one of my favourites, but it was still good. It is following a teenage girl, of course, who has a part-time job at the mall, and she works in the food court, and then two of her friends work in other shops within the mall, and she feels like she has a stalker. There's some, yeah, creepy things that happen to her, and she ends up in some, you know, kind of dangerous situations, and things escalate, of course. And yeah, I thought this one was okay. Like I said, not my favourite, but I still enjoyed it somewhat, and I rated it 3 stars. Then I read Gabriel by Lisa Tuttle, and this was a buddy read with the lovely Juan over at Played by Visions. And before I get into the book, I did want to mention, I'm sure you've seen it already, but in case you haven't, he recently put out a collab video extravaganza with a bunch of booktubers, including me, which I'm very privileged to be part of. And yeah, we're all talking about disturbing books. So get yourself over there if you haven't watched it already. Of course, I will leave a link to that. But yeah, onto the book, Gabriel. This is about a woman who essentially meets the reincarnation of her dead husband in the form of a young boy. I think he's like 8 or 9 years old, maybe. And yeah, it's a lot more than that as well, but I guess that's kind of like the heart of it. But yeah, a lot of the story is just following this main character, Dinah. She is kind of trying to start a new life for herself, and she gets a job opportunity that she thinks will be good for her. So she moves to a new city and is kind of trying to settle into the area. This is the area that she actually used to live with her husband in once they got married, but after his death she moved back home. So she's kind of coming back into, I think it's New Orleans, if I'm remembering correctly, and she has a lot of memories attached to this city because of her husband and what happened with him. It was a very sudden death. I won't go into the exact details, but they weren't married for very long, but it was an intense relationship, and one that she's like never quite got over. And so then she meets this kid who says, "Hi, I'm Gabriel." And so yeah, things go from there. There are some other characters involved, and a lot of it is just following Dinah's life, her kind of day-to-day life and her day-to-day struggles with like her work and her kind of love life. and then the ramifications of meeting this kid and what that actually means. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I really liked the concept of it. I will say I did find some of it, you know, the kind of the everyday stuff did get a little boring at times, but then the moments where things were happening, you know, they were really happening, and it does go to some places. Yeah, I saw a recent video of his where he talked about this, so I'll leave that linked as well if you want to go hear his thoughts. Yeah, I think overall he liked it a little bit more than me. I did still like it, just maybe not quite as much as I hoped I would. It does end up having some, you know, potentially disturbing and uncomfortable, unsettling themes here. So yeah, I ended up rating this one 3.5 stars. It was good. I think I just wanted less of the everyday mundane stuff and more of the what I thought was the more interesting stuff, I guess. But yeah, that's just me being ultra picky probably, because it did need that quietness to you know, as part of the story overall. I think I've read another of her novels, The Pillow Friend. I read that a few years ago and I felt a similar way about it. Like, I think I just wanted more horror from it. Whereas, you know, it does have some dark elements, but a lot of it is more of a character study maybe. So yeah, I think I would, yeah, maybe put the two as like more horror adjacent perhaps. But her short story collection, A Nest of Nightmares, I think is more, you know, more horror, I would say. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling there. So 3.5 stars to Gabriel by Lisa Tuttle. Then I read Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark by Cassandra Peterson. And this, of course, is a non-fiction book, and since it was non-fiction November, I figured that would be my attempt at joining in with that. And yeah, this is exactly what it says on the tin. It's, you know, the memoirs of Cassandra Peterson, who is the iconic Elvira. So yeah, it goes through her entire life story, you know, her childhood, her upbringing, and of course how she became Elvira, and you know, that whole career. Yeah, this was a really great read, very engaging, very readable. Her writing style is, yeah, just super easy to get into, and it's one of those books that you just want to keep reading because yeah, it's so interesting. You know, she's definitely led quite the life. Yeah, lots of interesting avenues that her life has kind of taken her down, and yeah, some, you know, juicy gossip included as well. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's not all good times, you know, she's definitely had her fair share of bad times also, and you know, she kind of, yeah, talks about everything really. So I thought it was a very well put together memoir. I'm not a huge reader of memoirs, so I couldn't really compare it to other ones, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a great read. So if you have any interest in Elvira and of course Cassandra Peterson herself, then yeah, definitely recommend this one. I rated it 4 stars. And the last 2 books I want to talk about are books I was sent for review by the authors very kindly. And the first one is The Hungry Earth by Nicholas Kaufmann, and this is about, it's set in a small town where there is an outbreak of this kind of fungal infection that is yeah, taking over some of the people of the town and is kind of slowly infecting the others. And we're following the local doctor who kind of, you know, stumbles upon an instance of a resident who has died, and she is doing the autopsy and she finds these weird growths inside the body, and yeah, begins to investigate. And there's also yeah, a few other characters involved, one of them being her ex-boyfriend who has just recently moved back to town. And yeah, as they're trying to figure out what it is, the people of the town are, yeah, slowly being infected by whatever this fungus is, and yeah, crazy things are happening, and it all happens very fast, so they don't have much time to figure out what on earth they are supposed to do and how to survive and how to try and save people along the way. So yeah, I thought this was great. I thought it was very well paced. It just kind of throws you in there. I thought the opening chapter especially was fantastic. Yeah, really kind of set the scene. The characters were all very well written. You know, they all felt very believable, and their relationships with each other also were very well done. And also this small town setting and the small community and the various characters within that community, again, all very believable and well done. There is some really great body horror in here as well, with, yeah, the stuff that this fungus is doing to people and what it's making them do. So yeah, always like a bit of body horror. This one had, like I said, a really great pacing, and it had a lot of really good action scenes, but then also, you know, quieter moments where we are getting to know these main characters a bit better and their backstories, and yeah, how that all affects what is happening within the story. And yeah, I won't lie, I got a bit emotional at a couple of points in here. I was like holding back the tears while reading it on the bus on my way to work one morning. So thanks for that, Nick. I'm like sobbing into my mask on the bus. But yeah, it had a really great combination of elements, and yeah, I could really visualize this being adapted into a movie. Like it felt very cinematic in that respect, that I just think, yeah, I think it would work very well as a film and would look really cool too. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you're looking for something fast-paced and, you know, really engaging, a bit of action, a bit of body horror, but also with, you know, characters you can root for. Then yeah, I gave this one 4 stars, and yeah, thank you again to Nick for sending a copy my way. And I know he did a couple of interviews as part of the promotion for the release of the book, so I will leave links to those. You should absolutely go check them out. I tuned in for the lives of these, and yeah, they were very enjoyable. He's a very engaging interviewee, so yeah, they were really fun. One of them was with Steve from Steve Talks Books and Stuff, and one was with Nikki over at Dark Between Pages. So yeah, absolutely go check those out. And last up, I read You Know It's True by J.R. Hamantaschen. This is a short story collection, his latest one that just recently came out, and the author did very kindly send me a copy for review. And yeah, really enjoyed this one. I literally just finished it last night, and I think it's 12 short stories in total, and they're all dark in some way. Some of them are like very dark, like some of them are bleak and depressing, and just those kind of existential dread feels are strong. Some of them are a bit more humorous and a bit more light-hearted, maybe a bit more bizarro. Some of them are gory, some of them are more psychological, some of them are possibly supernatural. There's a really great variety in here, but I mean, he's such a strong writer, and his ideas are, yeah, just so interesting and unique. And also, like with Nick's book, his characters are just really, really well done, very realistic and believable, and sometimes relatable. Yeah, there were a lot of interesting ideas here. There were definitely moments that I was reading it on the bus thinking, I hope no one's looking over my shoulder reading this. So that's always fun. Overall, an excellent collection. I rated it 4 stars overall. And yeah, it's hard to pick the favourites, but I think May As Well Blame It on the Heat was really good. It's about a couple who are getting a bit older, and they never wanted kids but are now thinking, well, maybe we should, and if we're gonna do it, we should probably do it soon. And then one of the characters has this very strange and unsettling experience. That one was fantastic. Let's see what else. There's one called No Hole in a Small World Can Truly Be a Small Hole. He has some great titles. Yeah, this one is about a couple and something strange that happens. Yeah, this one left me feeling quite untethered. And yeah, it definitely has that existential dread going on, and yeah, it kind of left me feeling some kind of way that I'm not sure I can describe, but it wasn't a good feeling, I'll say that, but it was a very great story. And More as a Knower Than a Sufferer was a really interesting concept, and yeah, hard to say too much about it, but it's about something that happens to some people after they die, and yeah, it kind of goes down this route that I won't spoil, but it was very interesting. And I think one of my favourites was definitely Nights Devour My Days, which is about a woman who is dating, and there's one particular guy that she ends up going out for a couple of dates with, and she starts having these weird dreams. And yeah, this one gets a bit visceral and gory, and I thought it was fantastic. In fact, I'm going to read you a line just to give you a little taste. Okay, it says, "I dreamt that night of Gerald's arms emerging through a man's empty eye sockets. In the dream, Gerald's wrists were distressingly thin, thin enough to easily pass through the eye sockets like floss between two front teeth." And it just goes from there, really. So yeah, I loved that one. I mean, overall, it was a really enjoyable collection. But yeah, those were the ones that I think really stood out to me. But yeah, definitely recommend this one. I think the author seems to kind of fly under the radar a bit, and I think his work really deserves to be better known and for more people to go check it out. And you know, I'm not just saying that because he sent me the book for review. I'm not that kind of person. But yeah, I do think he is a very talented writer, and this collection especially, yeah, really did it for me. So yeah, that was everything I've read in November. And yeah, it's been a bit of an odd month for me, and you know, ongoing into December, admittedly. Yeah, just I'm not sure if it's just like the change of the seasons and the clock's going back and the weather getting cold. But yeah, and honestly not feeling super great at times. Just trying to deal with a lot of things right now, and I am not as drawn to make videos at the moment. I still wanted to do my wrap up because, you know, I do enjoy talking about books still. But yeah, I think since we're coming towards the end of the year, I've like started to think about, you know, those end of year things and you know, plans for next year. And yeah, at this point I really don't know what is gonna happen with my channel next year. I'm not like quitting or anything, but I'm just really not sure what is going to be happening in the new year. At the moment, I've just been feeling very apathetic about it and about a lot of things, honestly. I think social media in general, I have been kind of, I can feel myself retreating from. You know, there are definitely times when I just don't want anything to do with anything social media related at all, and I just want to hibernate and do nothing. So that's definitely a part of it. I think another part of it is, yeah, kind of falling into that hole of like, why bother? Who cares? You know, what's the point? What's the point in anything? You know, which is a really fun place to be. And yeah, it's just, yeah, it's hard to get the enthusiasm and motivation to, you know, spend hours and hours on making a video when I kind of, you know, once I get to the weekend, I'm just like, I don't know if that's what I want to do with my time. I think that's the struggle at this point is, since I took a break earlier this year, it has really made me value my time, and it has kind of taken that pressure off of like doing a video every week, and kind of breaking free from that kind of cycle has, yeah, just really allowed me to, if I'm not feeling making a video, I won't make one, you know. And that's not to say I don't want to, you know, make videos, but I think it's just the process is so involved and so time consuming that I just have gone to the point where I'm like, is it worth it? Is it worth me spending several hours on this to make one video? And yeah, since we're having like an impromptu real talk session, I don't know what happened here. It wasn't my intention to go into this, but I guess we'll just go with it. November is the anniversary of my dad's death, which I don't know if I've mentioned that before, and obviously it's not a super fun time. He died in 2002, so it's not a recent thing. It has been quite a long time, but it's just, yeah, never an easy time. I mean, you know, the grief, I think, you know, does get easier to deal with over time. You know, it's less raw, but you know, the feelings are still there, and obviously it's not just this time of year that they come up. They can come up at any time, but this time of year especially. Yeah, not only, you know, dealing with like, you know, his death and losing him, but also just the kind of knock-on effect that had on me, and some things that kind of happened in my life following his passing, that I guess were related to how I dealt with it, which was not very well. So it just brings up like a lot of memories, not all of them good, and a lot of emotions. And you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And yeah, I wasn't planning on sharing any of that, so here we are. I guess it's just maybe a reminder that, you know, sometimes people are going through stuff that you might not know about, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm sure some of you can relate, or at least understand, and yeah, it can be really tough. And then, yeah, just when it comes to like the enjoyment of things and like having enthusiasm about things, it just, some of that just kind of dwindles because you're just kind of like depressed, honestly, I think is fair to say. But yeah, I really have no idea what I'm talking about anymore, so I should probably sign off. This is a reading wrap up, not a therapy session, Alex. So let's wrap this up. But yeah, I think just to let you know where I am mentally or whatever, and just why I'm having a bit of a hard time right now, and don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know how long, you know, what my video schedule is going to be like. Like I had recently put together a bunch of videos I was wanting to do, you know, towards the end of the year. So I hope I will still, you know, want to make those. But yeah, as for next year, I don't know, yeah, like I say, I really just feel myself retreating from making videos. Like I less and less kind of have that want to get in front of the camera, I think is a big part of the problem. And I'm sure there are probably, you know, different reasons for that and why I feel that way. But obviously that's a big part of making videos. So my camera battery just died, and I had to go replace it. So I'll take that as a cue to stop talking. But if you're still here, thank you for listening. and yeah, I don't know if, going back to what the actual video was about and the books I read, yeah, if there's any of those that you've also read, I would really like to hear your thoughts on them. Yeah, like I said, I had a good reading month. There were lots of really good books that I read, so there's that. You know, in amongst all the other stuff. I hope you had a good month. I hope, yeah, I hope you're all doing well. Thank you ever so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you again in my next one. Bye.